At 18, they told me I was smart enough to make it on my own as they pushed me out, all while paying for my sister's Harvard education. I fought my way up from nothing, and a decade later, their once successful company was crumbling, only to find out that the rival responsible for their downfall was me. Seeing their stunned faces when the truth hit was the ultimate payoff for every struggle I had faced. My father's words still resonate as I step into the lobby of what was once his company. At 28, I'm here for a board meeting that will decide the future of Mitchell Industries, not as the rejected daughter, but as the CEO of their fiercest rival. I'm Sarah Mitchell, and 10 years ago, my parents made it unmistakably clear where I fit in our family hierarchy. It was the day after my high school graduation. I had just delivered my valedictory speech, holding my Stanford acceptance letter with hope, when they announced that my college fund was being diverted to send my younger sister Emma to Harvard. "Emma needs more support than you do," my mother said, her eyes avoiding mine. Emma, who had always struggled academically, was their golden child destined for Harvard. "You'll figure something out, Sarah, you always do," they assured me. I recall standing in our modest kitchen, the same place where I spent endless nights helping Emma with math, and where I learned of my early acceptance. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting an almost deceptive brightness while my world unraveled. I whispered, "But what about Stanford? What about my dreams?" Only to be met with a scoff from my father. "Be practical, Sarah. We can't fund both of you, and Emma needs this chance more. You'll find a way." Meanwhile, Emma lingered in the corner, meticulously admiring her freshly painted nails with a slight, knowing smile. Always the favored one, the pretty social butterfly who craved constant praise, while I was cast as the reliable, responsible one taken for granted. "You have until the end of the week to move out," my father added, as if my departure were merely an afterthought, since his room was needed for Emma's Harvard tutor. That very night, I packed my belongings with precise mechanical efficiency, my mind already racing with plans and possibilities. I learned early on that I could depend on no one but myself. As I folded my clothes and arranged my books, I promised myself not just to survive but to thrive. With $3,000 saved from my part-time job at the local library, a perfect GPA, and an unwavering determination, I knew it had to be enough. The following months were the toughest. I secured a cramped studio apartment in a rough part of town and juggled 3 jobs: morning shifts at a coffee shop, afternoons as a receptionist at a small tech startup, and weekends at a 24-hour diner. Sleep became a luxury I couldn't afford, but I never lost sight of my education. Digital Dynamics, the tech startup where I worked, became my lifeline. Their CEO, Catherine Torres, noticed that I stayed late to study coding manuals during my breaks. One evening she called me into her office. "Sarah, I've been watching you," she said, her sharp eyes appraising me. "You have something special. How would you like to learn on the job?" That conversation altered my life. Catherine became the mentor I so desperately needed. She taught me not only about technology and business, but also about resilience and strategic thinking. Under her guidance, I mastered coding, project management, and, most importantly, the art of turning adversity into opportunity. Meanwhile, my family's occasional social media updates kept me informed about Emma's glamorous life at Harvard, designer clothes, sorority parties, and European spring breaks, all funded by the money that should have been mine. Their Facebook posts praised their brilliant daughter at Harvard, while I remained unmentioned, unfollowed, forgotten. But I wasn't bitter. I was busy building my future. By day, I climbed the ranks from an entry-level technician to a junior developer at Digital Dynamics. By night, I pursued online courses, earned certifications, and steadily broadened my knowledge. Catherine's mentorship was invaluable, teaching me how to recognize opportunities, network effectively, and always think several steps ahead. 2 years in, I experienced my first breakthrough during a late-night coding session. I discovered a method to optimize supply chain management using AI, a solution that could transform the way companies handled their logistics. Catherine not only encouraged me to develop it further, she invested in it. "This is your chance, Sarah," she said while writing a check that made my hands tremble. With her seed money and guidance, I launched Mitchell Analytics. I chose the name deliberately. I wanted everyone to know who I was and what I was capable of achieving. The first year was brutal, subsisting on ramen and coffee, working 20-hour days, and sleeping on an office couch. Yet the algorithm didn't just work, it excelled. Major companies began to take notice, our client list expanded, and our reputation soared. 5 years after being cast out of my childhood home, I was running a thriving tech company with over 50 employees. Catherine eventually joined my board of directors, bringing with her invaluable experience and contacts. I never reached out to my family, and they never reached out to me. Emma graduated from Harvard with a degree in art history and was given an executive role at our father's company, Mitchell Industries, a position created just for her. Their social media painted the picture of a perfect corporate family. Father, mother, and daughter united in building a legacy. What they failed to see, however, was that their legacy was crumbling. Mitchell Industries had stagnated, relying on outdated systems and old alliances. Their stock prices had been declining steadily for years, yet they were too proud to admit that Emma's costly Harvard degree hadn't prepared her for the real challenges of business management, and my father was too entrenched in his ways to change. I watched from afar as their company struggled, meticulously building my own empire. Mitchell Analytics expanded into artificial intelligence, machine learning, and predictive analytics. We weren't simply managing supply chains anymore. We were revolutionizing how businesses operated in the digital era. Then came the opportunity one had been silently preparing for all these years. Mitchell Industries' largest client, Robertson Manufacturing, was seeking new ways to modernize their operations. They discovered Mitchell Analytics through industry referrals, completely unaware of our connection. I sat across from Thomas Robertson, CEO of Robertson Manufacturing, in our state-of-the-art conference room, presenting our solutions with the confidence of someone who knew they were the best in the field. "Miss Mitchell," he said after my presentation, "your systems are exactly what we need. But I must ask, do you have any ties to Mitchell Industries?" I met his gaze steadily. "Yes, actually. James Mitchell is my father." The surprise was evident on his face. "Really? He never mentioned that." "I'm sure he hasn't," I replied calmly. "We haven't spoken in 10 years. That meeting led to further discussions. Robertson Manufacturing not only signed with us, but also introduced us to other major players in the industry. Within months, we had acquired several key clients that once belonged to Mitchell Industries. Now, as I stand in the lobby of Mitchell Industries, I adjust my designer suit, a far cry from the second-hand clothes I wore when I was cast out. The receptionist glances at me, clearly not recognizing the name on the visitor's badge. There are no photos of me on these walls, no mention of the other Mitchell daughter. "Miss Mitchell," she announces, "the boardroom is ready for you." I nod and take the elevator to the top floor, the same floor that houses my father's office, where he so often reminded Emma of her destiny to lead the family business. The irony is not lost on me. The boardroom falls silent as I enter. My father's face pales and Emma nearly drops her phone. My mother, present as a major shareholder, appears as if she has seen a ghost. "Sarah," my father manages to say, "Hello." "Hello, Dad," I reply steadily. "We're here to discuss the future of Mitchell Industries." The weight of the moment isn't in my words, but in the silence that follows. The prodigal daughter hasn't returned to beg for acceptance. She's here to show exactly what they discarded. I open my laptop, ready to present our terms. 10 years ago, they thought they were casting me into the cold, but they had no idea they were forcing me to build my own fire. Shall we begin? The boardroom of Mitchell Industries had hardly changed in a decade. The same mahogany table dominated the space, oil portraits of former presidents lined the walls, and an air of entitled superiority hung heavy. But the power dynamics had shifted. "Before we start, I believe we should address this conflict of interest," my father said, attempting to regain his composure. I smiled as I arranged my presentation materials. "What conflict, Dad? The fact that I'm now the CEO of Mitchell Analytics, or that I'm your daughter, the very one you cast aside a decade ago?" Emma shifted uncomfortably in her designer chair, looking just as flawless as her recent social media posts, perfectly groomed, draped in high-end brands, yet utterly out of place. "This is a private family matter," my mother interjected, her voice tight with anxiety. "Perhaps we should clear the room." I cut in smoothly. "This is a business meeting and everyone here needs to hear what I'm about to say." I turned to address the board members directly. Mitchell Industries is failing. Your quarterly reports indicate a 40% decline in revenue over the past 3 years. Major clients like Robertson Manufacturing, Turner Corp., and Bradford Industries have terminated their contracts in favor of innovative solutions provided by my company. The board members exchanged knowing glances. These were not family loyalists but seasoned business professionals watching their investments crumble. I advanced to the first slide of my presentation. I have a proposal to rescue this company. Mitchell Analytics is prepared to acquire Mitchell Industries in a merger that will preserve jobs, stabilize market position, and modernize operations. Absolutely not, my father exploded. This company has been in our family for 3 generations. I won't let you. Let me finish, Dad, I interjected steadily. Your stubbornness, your refusal to innovate, and your insistence on placing Emma in charge of departments she isn't qualified to run have driven this company to the edge of collapse. Finally, Emma found her voice. That's not fair. I've worked hard too. I turned to her and said, Tell me, Emma, what was your solution to last quarter's supply chain crisis? I distinctly recall you suggested hiring more manual labor to track inventory in 2025. She fell silent, her cheeks reddening as board members began taking notes. Miss Mitchell, one board member asked, what exactly are you proposing? I clicked to the next slide. A complete digital transformation. Mitchell Analytics would absorb Mitchell Industries, implementing our AI-driven systems across all operations. We'd retain 85% of the current workforce, retrain them on modern systems, and position the merged company as a leader in technological innovation. Another board member inquired, and what of the current leadership? Glancing at my father, I continued, my father would be offered the role of chairman emeritus, a ceremonial position that honors his legacy while allowing for necessary change. I paused before adding, and Emma would be welcome to remain with the company, but in a role that better suits her qualifications. This is blackmail, my mother whispered, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her fear. No, Mom, this is business. I rose and walked to the window overlooking the city. 10 years ago, you all decided I wasn't worth investing in. You redirected my college funds to Emma and told me to fend for myself. I did, and now I'm offering you the opportunity you never gave me. A way forward. The boardroom fell silent as the implications sank in. My father's hands clenched into fists, his knuckles turning white. Emma stared at her laptop screen, and I could see tears welling in her eyes. This offer stands for 48 hours, I continued. After that, Mitchell Analytics will move forward with our expansion plans, which include absorbing your remaining clients and establishing ourselves as the dominant force in this market. My father's voice softened, almost pleading. Your choice, Sarah. I turned back to him, bearing the weight of a decade's worth of rejection and hard-won resilience. No, Dad. We stopped being family the day you decided that Emma deserved a future and I did not. Now we're simply business people making business decisions. I gathered my materials. My team will send over a detailed proposal within the hour. I suggest you review it carefully. Your shareholders will as well. As I walked toward the door, Emma suddenly asked, Wait, how did you do it? How did you build all of this? I paused, truly looking at my sister for the first time in years. Behind the flawless makeup and expensive clothes, I recognized the same fear I had felt in our kitchen a decade ago when I had nothing. I built it by working harder than you ever did, I replied honestly. I learned from every rejection, every setback, every night I spent sleeping on an office floor because I couldn't afford rent. I did it because you, Mom and Dad, taught me the most valuable lesson of all. I can only ever count on myself. The silence that followed as I left the boardroom was deafening. On the elevator ride down, my phone buzzed with a message from Catherine. How did it go? I smiled and typed back. Exactly as planned. They never saw it coming, just as they never saw me coming 10 years ago when they thought they were discarding a problem, but instead were creating their biggest competition. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about rising so far above those who hurt you that they have no choice but to look up and acknowledge you. The next 48 hours would decide the fate of Mitchell Industries, but no matter their verdict, I had already triumphed. I had built something they could neither reclaim nor hand over to Emma. Instead, I had built myself. The following 24 hours erupted into the very chaos I'd expected. My phone buzzed non-stop, with calls from board members, industry contacts, and finally family members scrambling to seize control of a situation that had long slipped from their grasp. I sat in my office at Mitchell Analytics, poring over the latest market forecasts, when suddenly Emma's name appeared on my screen. After 10 years of silence, she was finally reaching out. I let the call ring twice before answering. Sarah. Her voice was softer than it had been in the boardroom. Can we talk, please? I checked my watch. I've got 15 minutes. I'm outside your building. Of course. Emma had always acted on impulse, assuming the world would accommodate her schedule. Curiosity piqued, I agreed. Come up and tell reception you're here. 5 minutes later, Emma stepped into my office. Despite her designer outfit, the dark circles under her eyes and the slight tremor in her hands betrayed her inner turmoil. She took in the modern decor and the expansive windows that framed a city many spent their lives striving to reach. This place is impressive, she murmured, sinking into a chair opposite my desk. What do you want, Emma? I asked bluntly. She flinched at my directness. I've been up all night thinking about everything you said in the boardroom, she admitted, nervously picking at her manicured nails, a habit from childhood. You're right. I'm not qualified for my position. I never was. Dad made it all easy for me. Harvard was practically a joke. I barely went to classes, yet they passed me because of his donations. Every role at the company was created just for me. I honestly don't know how to do anything, and I'm scared. The board is meeting again tonight, she continued, her voice wavering. They're going to vote on your proposal, and I know they'll approve it. Dad has been yelling at his lawyers all day, but there's nothing they can do. You've won. I felt a brief flicker of understanding. Emma, this isn't about winning. The company is failing because of outdated methods and poor management. My proposal is designed to rescue it by placing the right people in the right roles, even if that means starting with you. I paused before adding, I'm not offering a handout. I've prepared a folder. I slid a folder across the desk. Inside is an entry-level marketing associate position. No special treatment, no fancy title. Just a chance to start at the bottom, learn the business, and climb up on merit. With trembling hands, Emma opened the folder and scanned the job description and salary. Modest compared to my current earnings, but a step up from when I was sleeping on an office couch because I couldn't afford rent. The weight of those words hung between us. Finally, tears welled in her eyes. I never apologize for taking your college fund or watching you get kicked out. I was so focused on getting what I wanted that I never thought about what it cost you. I'm not here for apologies, Emma, I said evenly. This is about choice. You can continue clinging to a position you never truly earned, or you can choose to work hard and earn your place. Before she could reply, my phone buzzed. A message from one of my contacts on the Mitchell Industries board. An emergency meeting had been called. They were voting now. Emma, you should go, I said softly. She clutched the folder tightly. Sarah, for what it's worth, I'm proud of you. What you've built here is incredible. Thank you, but I didn't build it for your pride, I replied. I built it despite your rejection. After she left, I walked over to the window and gazed out at the distant city skyline. I could see the looming Mitchell Industries building. Another chapter about to begin. Then my phone buzzed again. This time it was my father. The board voted, they accepted your proposal, he said, his voice heavy with defeat. I know you've won, Sarah. You've taken everything I built. Not taken, Dad, I saved everything you were destroying, I answered. The papers will be ready by morning. He fell silent for a moment before adding, Your mother wants to have dinner to talk about everything. I have a company to run, I replied. Maybe in a few weeks once the merger is complete. After hanging up, I called Catherine, my unwavering rock through all of this. It's done, I told her. The board accepted. Congratulations, she said warmly. How does it feel? I thought of Emma's visit, my father's call, and the decade of relentless work leading to this moment. It feels right, not because of revenge, but because it was the best business decision and the natural outcome of all I've built. And maybe, just maybe, Emma will surprise us. She asked for a real job, one that requires genuine effort. Maybe she's finally ready to learn from you, Catherine chuckled. Maybe, I agreed. But first, we have a merger to manage. As the call ended, I looked at the old family photos tucked away in my desk drawer. The last one taken before they cast me out. We all smiled then, pretending to be the perfect family. Now the facade was gone, replaced by something raw and real. Sometimes you have to lose a false family to build something authentic, something earned that no one can take away. 6 months after the merger, I stood in the revamped lobby of what was now Mitchell Analytics Global. The outdated oil paintings had been replaced by digital displays showing real-time company metrics, and the old mahogany and brass had given way to sleek glass and steel. Change was in the air. Emma surprised everyone by immersing herself in her new role. She arrived early, stayed late, and asked insightful questions that showed she was finally thinking beyond herself. Last week she presented her first solo marketing campaign. It wasn't flawless, but it was entirely her own. My father, slower to adapt at first, eventually began attending the technology training sessions. He sat quietly in the back, taking notes like a student, his old ways gradually softening. I was reviewing the latest quarterly reports when my mother requested a meeting. She had kept her distance during the transition, watching silently as our carefully constructed family narrative crumbled and reformed into something unexpected. "Come in," I called. When she knocked, she looked older and more vulnerable than I remembered, without the usual shield of wealth and status. "Sarah, I've been doing a lot of thinking." "Have a seat," she said, smoothing her skirt with trembling hands. "I've been volunteering at a women's shelter, teaching basic business skills and helping people build resumes. It's shown me how resilient women can be when they have to stand on their own." She continued, "When we took your college fund and let you go, we believed we were doing what was best for the family. We thought Emma needed us more, but we were wrong." Pulling an envelope from her purse, she placed it on my desk. "This is every penny of your college fund with interest. I've been saving it secretly. It's not about the money, I know you don't need it now. It's about acknowledging what we took from you." I picked up the envelope but didn't open it. "You're right, it's never been about the money. It was about believing in you, about supporting you, and we failed at that. But you succeeded regardless. You built all of this without us. My father and I are selling the house," she added quietly. "It's too big, too filled with memories of who we pretended to be. We found a smaller place, something more honest." I thought of that house, the kitchen where my dreams were shattered, the room given to Emma's tutor, and realized that sometimes letting go is necessary for growth. "Mom, I didn't let go of you. You pushed me away, and I chose to fly instead of fall." She wiped away a tear. "Catherine Torres was the mother I should have had, wasn't she? The mentor I needed when I had no one else. She taught me that success isn't about what you're given. It's about what you build." My mother straightened her shoulders. "Well, you've built something remarkable here. And if you're willing, I'd like to build something too. A real relationship this time. Not one based on expectations or appearances." I considered her words, thinking of Emma's transformation, my father's newfound humility, and the genuine vulnerability of a woman who had spent decades hiding behind perfection. "That will take time, Mom, and it will require real work from all of us. But we're ready," I said. "Emma's learning, your father is trying, and I'm finally seeing things clearly," she replied. "Let's plan for Sunday dinner, at a neutral spot, not at the old house. Bring Emma and Dad, we need to really talk." Her smile was genuine, the first true one I'd seen in years. "Thank you, Sarah," she said as she left. I then opened the envelope. Inside was a cashier's check for my original college fund plus interest, and something else, a photograph I'd never seen before. It showed me at my high school graduation, delivering my valedictorian speech, my eyes filled with hope for the future, blissfully unaware of what was to come. I set the photo next to my latest business award. The contrast between that hopeful moment and the powerful CEO I had become told a story beyond revenge or success. It was a story about believing in yourself when no one else would, about constructing something so solid that those who tried to break you must acknowledge your strength, and about creating a legacy that can never be taken away because you earned every single part of it. Just then Catherine called, as if sensing I needed her perspective. "How are you holding up?" she asked. I glanced at the photograph of the girl who didn't yet know her world was about to shatter. "I'm good," I replied. "Really good. Because that girl didn't just survive, she thrived. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about settling scores. It's about becoming so exceptional that those who doubted you are forced to live in the shadow of your success. And if you're lucky, those shadows become bridges to something new. Something earned, something real.